I've been limping around with a sore shin due to hitting a deer on day 6, but nothing unbearable. Since our rental company won't rent back to us, we are forced to find other companies that will. But the big issue that we're facing is that there are no rentals inside of Merritt. We were stuck at the Greyhound depot for 6 hours, and the smoke from the Alaskan fires was creeping in. Losing $2,400 in rental fees sucks when our total cost was only supposed to be $800. After the 3.5-hour bus ride, we finally made it to Vancouver. We then caught an Uber to our hotel for the night and enjoyed the warm water and cozy beds.
Shit. We're balling.
Here are some photos. We woke up, ate breakfast, and got our new rental vehicle. We then headed to our first location, being Lindemen Lake Trail. It consisted of many streams, mossy terrain, and trees that tower over you. It had the coolest porta potty. There were ducks. There was fish and butterflies. The water was so blue and clear, but too cold to jump in. We stopped at Kev's Hot Dogs twice that day. We drove towards our next location, being the Sea to Sky gondola. We went on a short walk. Here are some photos. We slept here, we ate breakfast, and drove to the Sea to Summit gondola. I was looking at the gondola and I could feel my stomach sink and my heart pounding. So we ate a $12 ice cream, and it was time to overcome my fears, and there was no turning back.
We're rocking back and forth.
We're going too fast! Somebody fall down! Ah!
If that's not a success, I don't know what is. We then entered the highly populated areas, crossed this bridge, and followed a few trails to see what the lookouts had to offer. We then hurried over there, had a snack, and went to Capilano Suspension Bridge Park. This is what it was like. We tried Five Guys. It was great, but pricier than expected. We found a new location to sleep in the city where we felt comfortable. Here's some photos that were taken that day. This morning, we dropped off our rental and caught an Uber to the ferry. As we departed, we had a $40 breakfast. We then caught a taxi to the airport to pick up our new rental and got a free complimentary upgrade. Decided to turn it down, get a smaller car for better gas mileage and the temptation of high speeds. The closer we got to the caves, the further we got from civilization. We then arrived at Little Hutson Cave Park. From what we could see, there was only 2 caves, and both were cold and slippery. So if I had went further down into them, I'm not sure how I would have gotten back out.
Like there's a whole crawl space down there.
There was a really cool waterway going through this giant cave. And after that, we headed to Sanjo's Beach.
We just slept literally like on the side of the highway.
We slept here and ate A&W for breakfast. Once we finished, we went to Sanjo's Beach. This trail has the most enormous, surreal, and mystic vibes to the forest I've ever seen. On the beach, we found sand dollars, dead fish, green organisms, and small crabs. We decided to head back, not knowing anything about high tide, and the path we once walked was 2.5 feet underwater. With waves crashing, bone-chilling water, and rising sea levels, we quickly walked along the rock wall where the trail once started. Here's some photos that were taken that day. In the morning, we ate breakfast and went to Myra Falls. It had a nice waterfall which led to a rocky beach opening with crystal clear and freezing water. Our next location was Horne Lake Caves, and the first one was a 10-foot long cave with very tight walls. I then stood up, hitting my head super hard on the rocks above.
Damn. That's
The next
cool.
cave
I like
had a
that.
descending ladder and a belly crawl at the end, which no one had made it
I'm
through
turning
and turned around
around.
like myself.
What the heck?
We then went on a short walk to Hole in the Wall, and it was a crazy sight to see. Afterwards, we went to an ice cream shop, and they literally had the best ice cream we have ever tasted. Our rental car's rotor shield was making lots of noise, so I just bent it back in place and it was all good. Here's some photos that were taken that day. We woke up and drove to Long Beach, ate breakfast, and went to our next location. We followed a trail and could sense nothing but the remnants of purpose and dreams of a better life painted over with emptiness, abandonment, and failure. This was something that would change lives for the better or worse. Bomber plane crashed February 12th, 1945. The plane was occupied with 12 people, and they crashed 300 meters per minute into the swamps below. Miraculously, everyone survived, and the 800 pounds of explosives stayed intact. The crew was rescued and the cargo was collected, but the plane still remains. We then sat on the phone with our rental company for a couple of hours. By that time, we had some pizza and found a place to sleep. We woke up, ate breakfast, drove 4 hours into town. We were planning questions for our first rental company because we had a feeling they were scamming us. And later that night, we found a dog park to sleep at near the airport and caught our first flight being from Vancouver to Calgary. We had a 3-hour layover, caught our second flight from Calgary to Winnipeg, and finally Winnipeg to Thunder Bay. I'll make a separate video on how this trip cost us $6,360. Here's how our trip cost us $7,163.23 in 2 weeks. First, the plane tickets, $1,800. Our rental started at $800, then it went to $1,400. We got in an accident, lost $1,000 deductible. After that, we had 2 rentals, so that totaled to $3,557.23. We spent $500 on gas, $363 on food and groceries, $360 on buses and taxis, $128 for the gondola, $60 for an escape room, $102 for a suspension bridge park, $100 for the ferry, $260 for hotels, $30 parking, and I had to get new microphones, so that cost of $500, which I did not add into the cost, and everything totaling to $7,160.23. But we went way overboard because our rental company was actually scamming us, except we cannot prove it.